Hey, welcome to the Sit Down. I'm your man, Rod Love, and want to welcome you to once again a show that's going to make you think, a show that's going to engage you. Um, just right out of the gate, Sister Wynn, how you been doing this weekend?
I have been doing well. What about yourself?
I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go.
Okay.
And Doc Polite, how you been doing, brother?
I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm finally back on CP time.
Man, we have a
That,
show that
and that ain't what you think. It's cool papa time. That
Cool
means I'm
Papa
home
time.
relaxing.
but hey, for those of you who tuned in, we would love your engagement. We have the phone line number up, but I'll just say it for those of you who may just be listening and not watching. That phone number is area code 407-921-6195. Once again, 407-921-6195. And we would like some engagement for the topic that we're going to talk about this evening. And that topic is, and Doc, I'm gonna frame it how it was presented to me, and it says why she feels she can't submit to you the real story behind role struggles in black relationships.
Hmm.
So
So
Doc,
we
put
gonna
some meat on the
we gonna
bone, man.
well we're gonna pluck the feathers first. One of the things that we fail to address in many circumstances. We out here and we do what we do, and we talk about the community and about the kids and all of that, but we often gloss over the foundation. And kids come from a man and a woman. Okay. So if we don't look at the environment in which they come from, we fail to understand and give credit to a part of the foundation that is necessary. You understand what I'm saying? Because when you don't have a child in a nurturing environment or holistic environment, that's often a big problem later on. That problem will show up. And far too many people have made children in circumstances, situations where they themselves don't even know how to be in a relationship. They don't know how
Doc,
to.
Doc, let's hit the rewind button and let everybody know how did we find ourselves in this point in place to be having a discussion like this. And the way we got here over the last several weeks, we have been showing videos of young people, whether they've been in the police investigative room or whether they've been in the courtroom, and they're finding out for the first time that what you did is so heinous that you're not going to see the streets for maybe the next 20 years, if that.
Yes.
Yeah, and so we have to tie that to the environment. The key environment is what? The home. People don't like this kind of talk because see, anytime you show up and you make people responsible who are used to passing the buck, they think that you're attacking them.
Right.
Okay. When you have a child, whose responsibility is it to ensure that child becomes a productive person, becomes a productive part of society? It's yours as a parent. That's parenting 101. Okay. You got to teach Johnny and Peggy how to get along with others. Okay. How to be a part of a community. If that's not in your home, if you're not modeling that, then you can't just show up at court and say, "Oh, I don't know what's wrong with the boy. I tried." You tried what? Obviously, you didn't. It's so much help. I'm not dissing parents. I want y'all to get that. I'm simply stating the real truth. We've got to stop coddling these generations and saying that well, the system. That's too easy.
The easy part of it is blaming it on somebody else.
Right. And that's the problem. And we've become a nation of finger pointers. Nobody wants to step up and say, you know what, I made a mistake or I did wrong. I didn't learn. It's my fault. Where do those people disappear to? Nobody wants to accept responsibility, especially when it comes to something that didn't go right.
Well, we live in an era now where it's not popular to say I'm sorry. It's definitely not popular to say I was wrong.
Wrong. Yes.
And you know, Doc, you kind of framed it up. I mean, it's almost like, where do we go from here? How do we fix this? Or I guess the question is,
So,
if this is even fixable.
well, one of the things, and that's why, you know, we talked earlier about this subject, because one of the foundational things is we in our community have this belief that as men, and I always start with the men because we're in a spiritual concept, okay? Men want to say, I'm the man, I'm the head of the house, and everybody got to follow me. Okay. So if you are going to proclaim that, then there are some foundational things you got to understand why your wife or your girlfriend or whoever is in your house won't follow you as the head. Because number one, she see that she can't trust you. And that's a lot of the problem, regardless of
But Doc, I think you need to break it down when you say she sees, because you know it could be she sees or he sees in her the lack of trust. And when we talk about not being able to trust, how are we breaking that down? Not being able to trust to be a breadwinner within the home, not being able to trust from the perspective of teaching children or role modeling for children, you know, basically what you were taught. But then we can't go too far past that, because we, over the past 20 some odd years, if not more, we come off of a generation of children having children.
Yes.
okay. So let's talk about this. Most men will say, "Oh, she's too independent," and what they really mean is she won't let me tell her what to do. That's what they're saying.
Or the other side of what they're saying is, I'm intimidated by your success.
Right.
See?
And what they don't understand is many times women are independent because they had to survive.
Right. Right.
They were stuck being the single parent in the household, or being daughters in a single parent household, and had to step up and being the oldest. How many, you talk to a lot of girls, like my aunt always tell me how she had to take care of my mom and her brothers because she was the oldest. So she became a surrogate mama when their mama wasn't home. And my grandma used to work the sun up, the sun can't see by. And because of that, she had to go into this role because the man in the house was not their father. Okay. And so women in our community have always had economic pressure. They've always had economic pressure. I'm truthful. Y'all know I'm transparent. My dad, the reason my parents split up is because my dad would get paid on Friday, get drunk, and get rolled. And that left my mom with all the responsibility, okay, of paying all the bills and all of that kind of stuff. And she just got tired of it. And, you know, in her mind, he loved alcohol more than he loved her and his children.
Well, I have a question. A statement with that, because we're saying fathers or dads don't know how to do this, but it's almost like that young man father wasn't there to raise him.
That could be a factor, but here's something that, you know, I got to say to run counter to that. And we all give our own testimonies like however we want to give them. And just, you know, the part that I'll share is the fact that my father wasn't there when me and my siblings were growing up. I mean, he had the means to do, but because of his relationship with my mom, he didn't do. And I'm glad that we had grandparents that were the ones that stepped in to help my mother and supported my mother with 4 boys and 1 girl. But to your point is the fact that my father was not, he wasn't a daddy. Let me just go ahead and say that.
Yeah.
But then when I got married and had kids of my own, because of my experience and what I went through, made me a better man. Exactly. So
Right.
we can absolutely sit back and say, okay, because my dad didn't do it, I inherited the same traits.
But some of that is true,
It
because
does.
if you look at some of these young men, their fathers went through whatever they're going through and still did not learn how to break that generation curse.
So it goes both
But
ways. You're right.
there was the foundational framework was not in there in the early stages of childhood. Do you know when kids learn the most? What ages?
I want to say around 2, 3.
From 2 to about 8 is when they learn most of their socialization foundation. You understand?
But the sad part is
and-
when you see a reinforcement of behaviors that are not appropriate. You see some of this stuff come out with TikTok, and you see a kid not even 5 years old, and somebody thought it was cute to record them cursing.
Yeah.
That I never did.
And you see that constantly.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the ignorant adults that's allowing this, they don't understand the developmental aspect of what's going on.
Yeah.
Because you're teaching that child to express themselves in that way that's antisocial, they pick up other antisocial cues.
But Doc, you're talking about learned behavior too now.
Yes. All behavior is learned behavior.
Doc, go back to because I think you're one of the persons who did it the best. When you talked about, is it 2 or 3 different ways to learn? One is tactile, one is auditory.
There's tactile, auditory, visual, and I forgot the others. Kinetic. No, kinetic is touching.
Okay, so when you see when you see children growing up and they see the visual of how a parent or an adult, I'm not even going to say responsible, you see how they're acting. You see them not taking care of their family. You see them not making wise decisions. That's a lot of learning that a young person is taking in. And we sit back sometimes and we say, okay, now they're giving us little Johnny 12 or 13 now, and they expect us to fix all the things that little Johnny done learned over the last 12 years.
Exactly. And they send little Johnny into school with that rough and tough social skills that he got from home, because everybody fussing, fighting, and cussing in his house, and that's all he knows how to do.
Yeah.
So he gets to school, and now he is singled out for his behavior. He doesn't think anything wrong. Why? Because he does it at home.
But then you see the reinforcement that takes place when you call little Johnny's mom or dad to the school, and they come out to the school and they curse you. Hey, for those of you who are tuned in,
these are
having
not
a conversation about the role and where did these inherent behaviors come from that we see young people immerse themselves in, and how do we break that cycle? How do we get the attention of young people when they didn't get that attention when they were coming up with those role models around them or those adults? And I don't mean to say this as a conviction, but man, come on, at the end of the day, we got to call it out and we got to have conversations about solutions. For those of you who tuned in, we'd like to hear either some of your experience or some of the solutions that you'd like to bring to the table. Please dial in at 407-921-6195.
Let's all we all parents here. Let's think back. When we got our first kid and that kid began to walk, that kid wanted to walk around the house and pull on everything. They wanted to pull this off the sofa, and they wanted to pull this off the table. And now this generation, I got to go home and baby-proof my house. Wasn't no such thing when I was growing up.
No.
Wasn't no baby-proof. They made that baby behave.
You teach them, do not touch this.
So now, and that's called operant conditioning. What you're doing gets a response. We, on the base level, and we talked about this before, on the base level, we all learn this way. So we're not getting model behavior at home that leads to good relationships. Okay. Girls see these men in the house who are out of control, bullying, loud, dishonest, not caring, not kind, not covering that woman, and that traumatizes her. So when she gets to dating and she sees a man like that, because that's what she used to, she doesn't know that that's not normal.
Well, I guess the question I have is, and this is Sister Wynn and Doc, both of y'all, I'm interested, but do you believe that daughters look for or attracted to men that model after their fathers, or do they look for the exact opposite? And then I guess the same question could be for men. Do they look for a mate that has the inherent qualities of their mother, or do they look for the total? I mean,
I think we all do, on either sometimes on a conscious or a subconscious level. We are looking to others where their values line up with the values we know and have. Okay. Because that's the thing. You ever met, see, me and my wife, we have some deep conversation. You ever met, like when I was young, I had this thing about curvy women with the tat out and all of this stuff, and cute and all of that. And I was just chasing this because in my mind, this is what I was supposed to have. My mom was gorgeous in her day. She, even when she was older, she was still a beautiful woman. My sister was too. My girls are. And so I'm used to having a certain look of woman around me. And so that's what I pursued. I was pursuing a look when I wasn't even thinking about the character and the values. Okay. So of course I went through problems with relationships. Why? Because I was looking at the wrong thing. Okay. And then I had my own hangups because when I came up, a man had a girlfriend and a wife. Almost every man I knew in my neighborhood when I was a teen had a girlfriend and a wife. So we learn based on environment. There's nobody that's not a product of their environment. I don't care what people say.
The interesting thing is, and I don't know if you and Doc had experienced this, but I'm gonna tell you, this is my experience. All my life, and maybe it's because I'm that middle child, a rebel, but all my life I fought not to be my parents. I mean, I was not. I'm I forgot the rapper who did the Kendrick. It was a Kendrick Lamar. I don't know who. Not like them. Not like us.
Yeah,
they're not like us.
Yeah, all my life I was like, I'm not my parents. I'm not. But then the older I got, the more I realized I am my doggone.
We all say that. We all say that.
That is so true.
We all say that.
My husband has the qualities of my father. I see my dad qualities in my husband's, and those are good qualities because I watched my dad treat my mom and his friends and aunts and his mom, and I was like, you know what? I'm kind of looking for that same quality that my dad.
But me and I've known your husband through disclosure, 20 something. Well, shoot, 25 as long as I've been married.
Yeah.
And so me and your husband, we come from that same old school.
Yes.
That we believe, and this is no offense to anybody, because when Doc and I was talking about this, and it was something on here that it was a word that stuck out, and I thought Doc was going to go into it a little bit more about submission and what that means. A lot of people, when you hear the word submission, from a woman's perspective, they just, but it's almost like the word ignorant. People hear ignorant and get insulted, but if you look at the definition, of ignorance means you just don't know.
You don't know. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
me and Alvin came from the old school to where men were the protectors. I mean, and it was clear. I mean, at the end of the day, behind those closed doors,
Yeah.
yeah, we're here. Y'all give us the business on things, but in front of that door, hey, don't contradict me.
There you
You
go.
know,
Yeah.
I'm the foundation in this family, and
Mhm.
I'm the protector. I'm the gladiator, but
But
also at
but
the same time,
but the problem with that is we've taken something that was biblical and twisted it. Okay, because there's a reason that the man is the head, and we can't say the man is the head without understanding the spiritual context of that. Okay, because everything has a hierarchy. Okay,
Mhm.
and so in order to avoid chaos, there's an established hierarchy. Okay, according to the Bible, the man was made first, and woman was made from him.
Mhm.
Okay, and because the assignment was given to the man first, he was responsible for everything. He was given dominion, okay, over the earth. And people might think that that's a fairy tale, but there's a lot of proof to back up these concepts. The thing is, oftentimes when you're talking about spiritual, people will take it and put it into the secular world and try to enforce it. So you got men who are out there that are not aligned with God, who are trying to be the head. Okay, because there's a definite behavior that the Bible says the head should have. It tells you in the Bible, parents, don't set your children to what? Wrath, to be against you. It tells you that. And a man would rather sit where?
at the head of the table.
No, on the top of the house than to dwell with a quarreling woman.
Oh.
See,
The Bible tells you that.
I always thought the man wanted to sit
And
at
so-
the head of the table.
yeah,
It
you
gives
and I
you some-
both.
Hey,
You and I both.
it gives you some real life examples of the conflict and the behavior that goes on in families. Okay,
But
how
it
can
comes back down to the education that an individual have. I also will say it comes back down to how deeply you are rooted in your faith
Yeah.
and in your
Yeah.
religion,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that book called the Bible will teach you a great deal of things, and a lot of the things it has foundations in is the unity of family, the value of family,
Yeah.
men and their roles, women and their roles, and yeah, I know
And
we've
part in that with their kids.
yeah, and I know we've come a mighty long way, and everybody likes to talk about independence now, and you're right.
Mhm.
But you know, something to me that just really never changes is that unity, the head, and even when we say the head of the household, decisions are made most oftentimes than not, with that unification of their husband
To-
and the wife.
yeah,
You might,
together.
yeah, you might call yourself the head, but while you back there
but you got
negotiating,
you got to help me.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you know, we think about these cliches. Some of the cliches that talk about behind every good man there's a woman, but what some of them cliches don't say is that woman who was behind the scene was making a king.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
they didn't need
See,
to flex.
And that's what the kids see is the husband and the wife making decisions together. And one thing what bothers me is bickering in front of kids, a husband and a wife, or a girlfriend or a boyfriend, whatever it may be, and you're saying and doing all of this in front of the kids. What do you think those kids are going to grow up to do?
That learned behavior.
Learn behavior. Yeah. And it's like, wow. And just, I think you said, Mr. Love, when the parents have to come to the schools, that's another thing. It's like decent and in order
Yeah.
when you come to a place of
Hey,
school.
I know it's probably true for you as well as Doc, but
Yes,
and I'm gonna acknowledge, yeah, my mom used to have to come to the school for me, but when my mom came to the school, it was not in defense of me. It was the fact that I had done something wrong,
Mhm.
and she was coming to make sure a number of things. One, I wasn't going to embarrass the love name.
Mm-hmm.
That two, she made sure that those administrators knew who was the boss in that household, and it was her.
Yep.
But
Yep.
but I'm gonna tell you something far more important than all of that. Uh, we came from a sense of community, and if my mom had to come up to the school, you know, all of my friends that went to the school had to ran home and told their parents. Miss Love had to come up to the school, and my mom was gonna make her mark from the perspective that the community, with not that she went outside and told her business, but you better believe she didn't ever come back to the school for that. I mean, she came back to the school on some other stuff with me, but it wasn't gonna be for that.
So you was just a little juvenile troublemaker, huh?
You know what? You know what? I can't say. Well, I'll say this: out of all of my siblings, I think I was the one that back then, you know, you didn't get counseling. Counseling wasn't popular. But when my parents divorced, I think it impacted me more than anything else, from the perspective that it turned me into a rebel. Whereas when my father used to be the one that had the iron grip, my mom's grip was gripping on to a belt that, I mean, and I'm gonna say it, it hurt, but it didn't hurt as much as when my daddy used to put it on. And so I would test the limits. And so that's why, Doc and Sister Wynn, what we're talking about here and now, I think is critically important. And that's why it means a whole lot to me, because I understand the absence of a man in a household. And I will go on to say this: my father could have also been effective, even though him and my mom, they divorced, and my mom needed to divorce him, but he still could have been an effective dad, even outside the household.
Yeah.
But you know, one of the things that I've noticed a lot of times in successful marriages and relationships versus those that are not is that there's two types of relationships. There's a relationship where you're cheerleaders, and there's a relationship where you're an opponent. And if you stand back enough and observe couples, you can tell which relationship they have. And usually in the opponent one, everybody wants to be right. Nobody is willing to say, you know what? Okay, I can see it your way. I was wrong. And that's a huge thing that men need to learn. And this helped me. I began to realize early in my marriage, my wife chose to be with me. She's not here to harm me or go against me. So I can trust that her love is genuine and her concern is genuine. So it became a thing where I understood that as a man, I had to earn her trust. I had to earn her respect. She wasn't just gonna give it to me. I had to earn it. How do I earn that? By making her feel safe, to showing her she can trust my leadership. She can follow my leadership. I don't know anybody gonna follow a leader they can't trust.
But you know,
I don't.
And you're right, Doc. You're absolutely correct. But you know, I think we all got different facets to us. Sister Wynn, when you and Brother Alvin connected, what was the thing that you looked for the most from him that convinced you this is the one?
Goals.
Him cute.
It was goals that
Him cute.
I think we sat down and we were talking about goals. What was his goals? What was his aspiration in life? What was you were looking for in life, being here? What was your purpose? So I think that was one of the things. And then another one, I can't say it on the air. It gotta
but you know,
Hey, she had that flashback.
but you know, it be a number of things that can bring us together. I mean, you sit down with somebody, like you said, you know, looking at the goals that you set forth, looking at the vision of the future. And something else that Doc said that really made me think about this, and that, man, I think we've come to the realization that in life, you need a playbook. You need a playbook for how you're going to raise your children. You need a playbook for how you're going to deal with your relationship, your marital relationship, or your significant other. I don't care what, you know.
Yeah.
And here's some of the cheat sheets to my playbook is that, Doc, you talk about there's two, one cheerleader and one opposition, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Opponents and cheerleaders.
yeah. And so in my household, you're going to always hear me and my wife cheering for each other. You'll never
Exactly.
hear us going in the opposite direction publicly.
There you go.
Publicly.
That's that word.
Exactly.
That's that
Be-
word.
Exactly.
Because
Because
we
something
got a relationship that we communicate and trust.
Mhm.
And sometimes she got to tell me I'm wrong. And
And I'm all right with
and
that.
it takes her a little bit more time for it to get through to me. And sometimes I gotta say to her, maybe you thinking about it the wrong way.
Mhm.
I can't come out and just say you're wrong,
And it's okay. It's okay to be wrong every now and then.
but it
Nobody
makes
is
us think.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's something that Sister Wynn said, and I agree with it, because when I met my wife, I had never met a woman like her. And let me explain that. Most of my life, I have dealt with women that needed something from me.
Mhm.
Okay. And I came in, I was Captain Saber, you know, and that's how I functioned. I thought that if I loved her, if I gave her, then she would automatically be in love and do right by me. Okay. I met my wife. My wife had her own place, her own car. She was going to school. She was working. She was independent. The whole time we were dating, I never paid a bill for her. Nothing. She ain't never come to me and say, I'm short on my light bill and give me some money. That blew my mind. And I loved it. I was like, wow, she's with me because she wants to be with me, not because I'm helping her pay a bill.
Mhm.
And likewise, I did the same. I didn't go to her and baby, I need $20 because I ain't got no gas to get to work this week. No, I don't live like that. And so to meet her at that point was when I wasn't looking, and then seeing her, I understood that there's a different dynamic to relationships. And it made me so curious that that was part of my pursuit of her. This woman is different. Then I saw her faith in action. And that sealed it for me. That just sealed it.
And so there's different things that draw us into a person. And you know, for those of you who are watching, and I'm gonna pull this thing back in. We're down to 14 minutes left. And I know for those of you who are tuned in, you may get the impression that we're having a discussion that's akin to marriage counseling. And no, we're not. We're not. We're not. We're going to pull this back in from the perspective that all the things that we just talked about the unification of a family, even when a family is not under one roof, the secretness, if you would, of that engagement with your children and role modeling
Yes.
and understanding that, man, we used to fly by the hip of
Yeah.
how you raise
Yeah.
the family,
Yeah.
but we talk about you could drive a vehicle, and if you don't know and understand how to operate it correctly, you could easily go out there and kill somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have a family, and man, the uniqueness and the complications of raising a family is far more difficult than driving a car.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
you don't have to get a license for it.
Nope.
Yeah. But there are
There
some
is no
there,
place
there
for it.
are some skills. So let me give the men the skill. Men,
Okay.
if you want to be the head, this is what you got to understand. Here are the skills, okay, of being the head. Now, what does submission actually mean and doesn't mean? Submission is not obedience, control, shrinking to fit your ego, letting go of their voice, vision, or value. Real submission is giving her emotional safety, sharing your vision and your leadership role with her. Surrendering control is an area where love, not fear, is guiding the relationship. See, baby, I love you so much that I want us to do this, and be okay with her not wanting to go that way. Find a compromise. Um, and for many Black women, submission isn't hard because of pride. It's hard because they never have a space to relax. See, and that goes back to, I can't trust you. So I got to raise you. That's why it looks like so many Black women raise their husbands and their children, because they can't trust him to make sound decisions.
Wow.
A lot of women find themselves in that predicament. You think he's supposed to be going to work. He drop you off at work. He doesn't skip work. He down fishing. Miss a whole day of pay just to go fishing. Or he down to the gambling house. Or he's doing something other than what he knows is his obligation. I can't trust you. And when I can't trust you, I give you a short leave. You don't, when you're dealing with somebody and you learn that you can't trust them, do you continue to deal with them in the same way?
You don't, but Doc, I can't throw the whole blanket over the trust equating to a man just not doing the right thing. I can't throw that, and I know that's not where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, when you talk about that trust factor,
Mm-hmm.
it equates to, real some simple things. And this is not making excuses for men who abdicating their responsibility to the woman, to the mother, because we know in the history, the annals of history, that if anybody's gonna get it done, it's gonna be the mother or that woman. And I don't know what it is. I don't have the answer, Doc. I do not know what it is.
But why is that? Why do we know that the woman is going to get it done?
Because I think she's more inclined and focused on what the task is in front of her. I'm not saying a man is not, but we're more.
You've been taught. You've been taught that. You've been taught that. Black women have been taught this because y'all have been forced to be strong. I'm a strong Black woman.
But I don't agree. I don't agree. I mean, they've been taught that, Doc, and you're right. But I'm gonna simplify it for you, Sister Wynn. I think the reason why, when Doc asked you the question, why do we look at women that we believe that they are going to get it done? Mm-hmm. And I can simply just say, because you all been the bedrock. And when I say the bedrock, I'm gonna go back in time from the perspective of when all else failed, and some of the things that Doc just talked about men, let's just face it, some men, not all men, but some men abdicating their responsibilities when all else fails, and that took place. The reason why my perspective that women were the bedrock is because at the end of the day, she's looking at her children. Mm-hmm. She sees this other part of her that's supposed to be doing what she's doing or what she feels she must do. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, when she has to choose, that's a grown man over there. Mm-hmm. These are her children. Mm-hmm. And no matter what else happens, she's not going to fail those children. And so that's how I come to the conclusion of being the bedrock. But Doc, this goes back.
But wait, now, because you just put all the onus on her. See, this is the problem.
Now,
No. Let me talk. First of all, he's the head. All the weight should be on him. Okay? She should not be forced to be in that situation. See, our women are forced a lot of times to be in those situations. And Black women are sick and tired of being sick of having to be strong, where we don't step up. Where Black men won't step up. Because that's the mindset. Oh, she'll take care of it. Why? Why does she have to take care of it? I've seen guys, hey, baby, the cable people call. You need to go down there and pay the cable.
Doc, I'm not saying it's right.
But it's, to me, it's just part of who we are. It's in our nature. We're that
You,
comforter.
but you've been taught that.
Yeah,
You've been taught that.
yeah.
You have. But
So
why?
what have men been taught, Doc? Doc, what have men been taught? Men have been taught to be the
We've been
protectors,
because
Provider.
the providers. Right?
many of us were raised by mama. We've been taught to acquiesce our role, a role in relationship
I'm glad Doc
where
brought that up.
where the woman is the boss. Why? Because our mamas, many black men deal with mama's boy syndrome, and and Rod, you know how strong-willed my mama was, and we constantly clashed over this. And I told her, I'm a grown man. I don't need your permission for anything. I don't need to be raised. You know, we'd have to get down like that. Why? Because my mom was one of those women that never had a good man. She didn't know what a man was. A relationship with a man was. Okay? So she thought that she could tell me to do this and do that, and I had to abide by it because I was her boy. In other man, I was the man she made.
But you know, something Doc just said though, and I'm glad he didn't wait till we got 2 minutes before the show was over with to say it. It's something he said, man, that stuck out, Doc, to me. And
Yeah.
I mean, we ain't gonna be able to cover it entirely, but when you highlighted the fact that we have an enormous amount of women raising boys to be men, and I'm gonna just tell you, I take my hat off to the effort. But at the end of the day, when you look across the board at the different category, I mean, when we look at we're a small percentage of the population, yet with a majority in categories that we don't want to be in, such as having some jurisdiction placed upon us as juveniles, as the pipeline from community to incarceration. You look at all of these different things, and I'm telling you, there's a strong need for men, whether you're underneath the same roof or not, and that's another topic for another day. But if you're not, to be a responsible dad and father.
Yep, absolutely.
It matters.
It really does.
And this is not, we're not beating up on men. We're just putting it in the wind because it needs to be said, because we can't fix things if they remain hidden. We cannot address them. And the reality is that it's time for men to understand that there are rules to becoming the head, and you need to work toward that. Not saying that you're not working toward it, but all of us can learn. I learn every day. Okay, I go and apologize to my wife when the minute I realize I was wrong or I approached something in a manner that was not conducive and loving for our marriage. I've learned that humility. Okay, because this is the woman that's gonna bury me more than likely. Okay,
You know, Doc say we're not beating up on men, and I take issue with that. I take real issue. No. I take issue with that because we're not beating up on men, even though there's a time and place when we gotta call things out. But we're not beating up on men. But what we're in actuality trying to do is beat men up.
I get what you're saying, but because I don't want someone, we can pile on sometimes, and it seems like no matter what they do, they're criticized and they're demonized.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is, in essence, is that look for your roadmap. You're not going to become the perfect man at no point in your life, but you could be a better man every day.
Yeah.
You could be a better man.
I like how you framed that up.
And so we got to do that. You got to wake up. That's what I do. Every morning, God, make me a better man today than I was yesterday. Let me serve you. Let me serve your will as you would want me to.
So Doc, take a moment, because we're gonna close out. Take a moment and just give brief words of wisdom in terms of where we're trying to go with this discussion tonight.
Well, the key thing to remember is that, number one, I was trying to give my brother his props again this morning he rushed me off the phone and stuff. But you know, I watched Rod. Me and Rod, became friends about 8-10 years now,
Mhm.
and I respect the hell out you. I really do, because it's not just a man that's sitting there and talking about it.
Mhm.
There is treasure that he is pouring out into the community. See, he's opening doors and giving opportunities to men and women and children.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they've got to learn to pick it up.
Yes.
Rod is giving y'all a chance at some great things, great programs, great opportunities,
Mhm.
and he will and deal to get this stuff done. He is constantly doing this.
Well,
His children.
and it's
Don't
a
cut
team
me
effort.
off. Don't cut me off. Don't let me
No, it's a
sing your
team effort.
praise.
You're gonna give Sister Wynn absolutely less than a minute, but Doc is
Okay.
good. Doc,
Oh,
and you
no,
know, Doc is a man in the ministry too. So Doc
But
is,
look,
I
but
know.
look, the thing is that you have a blueprint. You have a roadmap.
Mhm.
Guys, women, send your sons over to learn to get that roadmap. Go ask to be part of the program because it's needed. We literally don't have people out there teaching this right now in this community, in these communities.
And
They teach you how
not
to go
be
to the club
afraid to
Mhm.
ask for it.
and,
That's the
stuff,
thing.
but it's a sad thing to see a man in his 60s laying in a nursing home half, halfway dead, and he's blown every relationship in his life.
and boy,
Nobody
it's a
comes.
lonely place to be.
It is.
Sister
It
Wynn,
is.
I know you can see what's down there on below the screen, and so you got 30 seconds.
Got 30 seconds.
Take your time, sis. Take your
Well,
time.
the opportunity is here. Just ask for it, and the door shall be open. You just gotta ask.
Boy, from a poet. Hey, I am going to say to everybody that's tuned in, I want to thank Doc Polite and Sister Wynn, my co-host. Hey, we'll be here every Monday from 6 to 6:45, and we love having these conversations that make us all better. So, hey, please tune in, and we're coming to you with some life experiences. We hope that they mean something to you. We'll see you next week on the Sit Out.
Have a good evening.